And Clark came out and said that Kelsey Mitchell is the top priority for the Indiana Fever in this free agency. And that left some questions in the air about, wait a minute, how much of a priority is Lexie Hall? How much of a priority with the Fever has ended as she is now an unrestricted free agent ahead of her 8th season in the WNBA. You also have to remember that Sophie Cunningham will likely be left unprotected in the expansion draft. So that is another...
The moment Caitlin Clark made her decision, everything around the Indiana Fever began to shift, and not in a subtle way. What was once a stable locker room dynamic is now showing clear signs of tension, and the players themselves are no longer staying quiet. Instead of carefully controlled messaging from executives or PR teams, something far more unpredictable is unfolding behind the scenes. This isn't a narrative being crafted by management. It's coming directly from the players, frustrated, outspoken, and ready to take control of their own story. The usual structure, where communication flows through official channels, is being bypassed. Voices that were once filtered are now raw and unrestrained. And that shift is starting to reshape the entire offseason conversation. At the center of it all is pressure, financial, competitive, and personal. The evolving salary cap landscape is forcing difficult decisions, and the ripple effects are being felt across the roster. What used to be described as chemistry or sisterhood is now being tested by real-world business realities where contracts, value, and opportunity outweigh sentiment. This isn't about rumors or polished interviews. It's about leverage, timing, and control. The players understand the stakes, and they're stepping forward rather than waiting in the background. As the noise builds, one thing is becoming clear. The internal balance that once defined this team is being challenged in a very public way, and the outcome could redefine everything moving forward. Let's break this down step by step, without the noise, just the sequence and the impact. The WNBA offseason isn't just about basketball. It's a tightly controlled, high-stakes business environment. Every comment, every interview, every hint dropped in public gets dissected by agents, executives, and rival teams looking for leverage. Nothing is accidental, and nothing goes unnoticed. Now enter Caitlin Clark, a player whose influence extends far beyond the court. When she stepped in front of the media and made it clear that re-signing Kelsey Mitchell is the top priority for the Indiana Fever, that wasn't just support, it was a signal, a very loud one. Because in a system driven by contracts and hierarchy, a statement like that creates an immediate ripple effect. The moment one player is publicly elevated as the priority, everyone else in that locker room starts recalculating their position. Players like Lexie Hall and others in similar situations are left reading between the lines. If one contract is being emphasized, where does that leave theirs? If resources are finite, who's next in line and who's not? That's where the real impact hits. From a purely strategic standpoint, this kind of endorsement reshapes internal leverage. Agents take note, teammates take note, even rival franchises take note. It signals how the organization might allocate money, attention, and long-term commitment. And once that signal is out in the open, it can't be walked back. This isn't about emotion, it's about positioning. When a player with Clark's level of influence publicly backs one teammate, it effectively shifts the internal market dynamics. It creates clarity for some, but uncertainty for others. And in a league where careers hinge on timing and opportunity, that uncertainty can quickly turn into tension. So the real consequence of that statement isn't just support for one player, it's the chain reaction it triggers across the entire roster. What that signal really does is reshape the entire internal economy of the Indiana Fever. In a hard salary cap system, prioritizing one cornerstone contract doesn't just elevate that player, it automatically compresses the financial space available for everyone else. When Caitlin Clark publicly backs Kelsey Mitchell as the top priority, the message travels instantly through the locker room. Resources are being allocated, and not everyone will fit into that equation. That's where players like Lexie and Sophie Cunningham come into focus. They represent a different kind of value: defensive intensity, role acceptance, and physical sacrifice. The type of players who absorb the toughest assignments, protect star talent, and operate without the benefit of high-volume statistics. Their impact is real, but it's harder to quantify in a system that ultimately rewards production, durability, and long-term availability. And that's the uncomfortable reality here. Cunningham, in particular, becomes a case study in how quickly valuation can shift. She delivered efficient perimeter production and toughness, but availability is a non-negotiable variable in modern roster construction. A significant knee injury, like an MCL tear, introduces uncertainty, and uncertainty directly affects contract decisions. Teams don't just evaluate what a player has done. They project what they can reliably do going forward. Add in factors like unrestricted free agency and potential exposure in an expansion draft, and the situation becomes even more complex. It's not about loyalty or past sacrifice. It's about risk management. Front offices are forced to make decisions based on probability, not sentiment. Long-term capital typically goes toward players with the highest combination of impact and reliability. That doesn't diminish the contributions of role players. It just reflects how constrained systems operate. So when you strip the emotion away, this isn't betrayal, it's prioritization under pressure. And in a capped league, prioritization always comes with consequences. This is where the situation shifts from roster construction into pure leverage and narrative control. Within the constraints facing the Indiana Fever, protection rules and salary cap limits force hard decisions. When only a small core can be secured, everyone outside that circle is, by definition, exposed. For a player like Sophie Cunningham, that exposure isn't just theoretical. It directly impacts her negotiating power, her security, and how the league perceives her value moving forward. But here's the key shift. She's not operating passively inside that system. Cunningham understands that her value isn't limited to on-court production. In today's sports economy, brand equity, audience reach, and direct media access are powerful assets. By stepping outside traditional team-controlled communication channels and appearing on her own platform, alongside her co-host, Wes Wilson, she's doing something very deliberate, reclaiming control of the narrative. This isn't just a casual media appearance. It's a strategic activation. By positioning herself as more than just a role player, highlighting leadership, personality, and connection with fans, she's expanding her market beyond what a front office spreadsheet might capture. She's speaking directly to sponsors, other teams, and the broader audience without filtration. And in doing so, she's subtly reinforcing her value in areas that aren't constrained by the salary cap. That matters, because while teams evaluate contracts based on performance metrics and medical projections, the broader market evaluates visibility, influence, and engagement. Cunningham is effectively balancing both sides, acknowledging the business reality while simultaneously increasing her external leverage. So instead of being boxed in by the system, she's widening the playing field. This isn't defiance, it's adaptation. In a league where financial structures are tight and opportunities are limited, controlling your own voice can be just as important as controlling your on-court role. What you're describing isn't chaos, it's a calculated shift in leverage. When Sophie Cunningham launches a March Madness timed series and brings in Lexie on her podcast, she's not just joining the conversation. She's repositioning where the conversation happens and who controls it. Attaching that content cycle to the visibility of NCAA March Madness is smart timing. Attention is already peaking, so distribution and engagement come built in. But let's separate the tone from the mechanics. This isn't about holding the franchise hostage. It's about players using modern tools to influence their own market. In a capped league, teams traditionally control messaging and pace. Offers are made quietly, narratives are shaped internally. A player-led platform flips that dynamic. By speaking directly to fans, sponsors, and other teams, Cunningham and Hull are increasing visibility right before free agency decisions, framing their value in their own words: defense, versatility, leadership, signaling openness to different priorities, role, fit, or compensation, creating soft leverage by letting the market know their active and confident general managers don't despise this so much as they factor it in. Front offices still make decisions based on cap math, medical evaluations, lineup fit, and long-term planning. A podcast won't override those fundamentals, but it can nudge perception, which matters on the margins. The key question raised, money versus role versus continuity, is exactly what free agency is about. By putting it out publicly, they're accelerating a conversation that usually happens behind closed doors, that can apply gentle pressure. But it also gives teams clearer signals about what the players actually want. As for their valuation, players like Hull and Cunningham aren't defined by minimum labels so much as by role-specific demand. Perimeter defense, toughness, and lineup flexibility are valuable, but teams still weigh those against scoring, availability, and health projections. Their market will reflect that balance. So the real takeaway is simpler and more grounded. They're not breaking the system. They're playing it more openly. That framing is a bit too absolute. The cap pressure is real, but the conclusions about bankrupting the franchise or players becoming irrelevant don't hold up when you look at how teams and markets actually behave. Start with the basics. The Indiana Fever do have to make trade-offs. If Kelsey Mitchell commands a top-tier deal, the front office has to decide how much is left for role players like Lexie, Hull, and Sophie Cunningham. That's normal cap management, not a path to bankruptcy, just prioritization. Where your argument goes too far is in assuming their value only exists because of Caitlin Clark. Clark absolutely elevates visibility, ticket sales, TV numbers, sponsorship attention. That's undeniable. But role players don't become valueless the moment they leave a star's orbit. Around the league, defensive specialists, high IQ wings, and culture players consistently find contracts because teams need specific skills, not just star power. Hull's perimeter defense and Cunningham's toughness and spacing are transferable assets. They may not command max-level deals, but they also won't drop to zero. The market for role players is narrower and more role-dependent, but it exists, and it's competitive. On the brand side, it's more nuanced too. Yes, being alongside a global draw like Clark amplifies exposure. But once a player builds recognition, personality, and a following, that doesn't instantly disappear. It may adjust depending on market size and team visibility, but it doesn't vanish overnight. As for expansion teams, like potential groups in places such as Portland or Toronto, they typically don't just throw money at players without considering fit, health, and long-term upside. Cap space alone doesn't equal reckless spending. So the grounded reality looks like this. The Fever must choose how to allocate limited money. True. Clark's presence boosts everyone's visibility. Also true. But Hull and Cunningham still have independent, role-based value in the league, and their market outcomes will depend on fit, health, and demand, not just proximity to one star. This isn't a collapse or a delusion. It's a standard tension between star-driven economics and role-player markets playing out in public. They absolutely have the flexibility to make an aggressive offer to Sophie Cunningham, but calling it sabotage oversimplifies how front offices actually operate. Teams don't spend just to weaken a rival. They spend to solve their own roster needs. If Cunningham fits a defensive identity or locker room culture, then a strong offer makes sense, but it's still grounded in fit, health, and long-term value. For the Indiana Fever, this isn't about panic or caving. It's about discipline. With Kelsey Mitchell likely commanding a major deal and Caitlin Clark as the franchise centerpiece, every additional contract has to be evaluated through a strict lens: impact per dollar, durability, and lineup balance. Overcommitting to preserve chemistry can backfire, but so can undervaluing role players who make the system function. The idea that we've entered a completely new, ruthless era isn't entirely wrong, but it's not new either. This tension has always existed in capped leagues. What has changed is visibility. Player podcasts, social media, and direct-to-fan platforms are accelerating negotiations in public that can create pressure. But it doesn't override the fundamentals of roster building. As for Lexie, Hull, and Cunningham using media to push their value, that's just modern leverage. It raises their profile, signals confidence, and may attract interest. But front offices won't rewrite their financial models because of a podcast. They'll still make decisions based on role, health, and sustainability. So the real decision tree for Indiana is simple: pay top dollar for core pieces and accept thinner depth or distribute resources and build a more balanced rotation. There's no treason or collapse, just trade-offs. And if expansion teams or cap-rich franchises step in, they won't be acting out of emotion. They'll be acting on opportunity. That's how the system works. In the end, this isn't a corporate civil war. It's a negotiation playing out more publicly than usual.